All good? Today we saw professional testimony. In that professional testimony, we saw that these police officers did everything they possibly could to de-escalate this situation. They did everything they could to try to not to have a physical confrontation. But unfortunately, Mr. Gardner wouldn't have that and chose to resist arrest. But it showed the compassion that those police officers had, being concerned to try to do this as easily as possible. It's a tragedy that didn't happen, and there was a loss of life. But nonetheless, that was the mission of those police officers on that day. So,
thank you, Patty. You see the amount of time the officers waited, almost 9 to 10 minutes before engaging him. Officer D'Amico testified today calmly, professionally, the way he was taught, and he indicated how Gardner, the time before, he had given him a warning that he knew that Mr. Gardner was selling cigarettes. On the day in question, he made the observation, and that's why he moved in for the arrest. He had been warned once before, but even with that, D'Amico showed what an experienced officer he is by waiting and waiting until he couldn't wait any longer. We also found out today that Mr. Gardner was both breathing and had a pulse after the entire incident before the EMTs arrived. So I think what today showed us was the officers acted professionally, pursuant to their training, and put him on his side after he was cuffed to promote free breathing.
well, at times, folks that don't want to be arrested, when they stop resisting, sometimes they go limp or stay stiff. While it may look like they're not resisting, they're refusing to give their hands to be handcuffed and be placed under arrest. So in this situation, what we have to look at is the thought pattern of the police officers at the time when it was unfolding, not in the quiet of a courtroom.
The last two witnesses will be the medical examiner as well as the force expert that taught Officer Pantaleo in the academy. I haven't made a decision on whether Officer Pantaleo will testify yet.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Very sorry.
Why process the arrest?
Because that's the rules of the police department to process that arrest regardless. Many times what's happening is this police officer is being held responsible for decisions of headquarters, procedures that they create. That's our obligation as a police officer. We don't have a choice in making these procedures or processes. Unfortunately, they make them and we have to follow them. Unfortunately, in this situation, it sounds cruel, but nonetheless, he was being placed under arrest and must be charged. That's a better lawyer question on what there was.
Clearly, it was meant as a misdemeanor charge. But again, you have to keep your eye on the bouncing ball. Whether it was a misdemeanor or a felony has nothing to do with this trier of fact has to decide. They have to decide whether Officer Pantaleo was reckless in the assault, which is an impossible standard to meet, or whether he was involved in strangulation in the first degree, another absurd requirement they have to meet. This was an officer making a lawful arrest with a defendant who was resisting arrest.
Thank you, everyone.
Good day. My name is Orta Cologne. I am co-director of Justice Committee. Today is the 5th day of the disciplinary trial against Daniel Pantaleo, the officer who placed Eric Garner in a chokehold and strangled him to death. Now today is the 5th day. The 6th day is actually happening in June. This is completely absurd. The family of Eric Garner should not be put through this. Right now, his family members are taking off from work to be here. Daniel Pantaleo sits there collecting his NYPD paycheck every day. Make no mistake, this is Stu London. Stu London continuing continuing to prolong and delay and just play all these tricks. He did it before the trial started with all these crap motions, and he's doing it again while the trial is happening. Now Stu London claims that there is only one medical examiner in all of fucking St. Louis. This is absurd. This makes no sense. And the NYPD is actually backing this. They're allowing this to happen. They continue to cause the Garner family pain. This was a prohibited chokehold. It was a chokehold. It is a fireable offense. This trial shouldn't even be happening, let alone going into June. The 2 weeks have been scheduled months ago. Months ago. There's no excuse for this whatsoever. We all saw it. We know it was a chokehold. We have also seen, we've heard 2 witnesses say that Eric Garner had just broken up a fight. Eric Garner had not committed a crime. We've also heard NYPD Inspector D call it a chokehold. Once again, a fireable offense. We heard the medical examiner call this a chokehold. A chokehold. Stu London tried to blame her. He just keeps throwing out blame, but everyone keeps calling it what it is, a damn chokehold. This trial shouldn't even be happening because Daniel Pantaleo should have been fired almost 5 years ago.
That's right.
For using a prohibited chokehold. We don't need to hear from all these witnesses. We don't need a St. Louis medical examiner coming in June. It's a chokehold. And he should be fired. And not just Pantaleo, all these officers. What we also witnessed today is what we've been saying, that there is a cover-up. There's an NYPD cover-up around the murder of Eric Garner. Today, Justin D'Amico, Officer Justin D'Amico, Pantaleo's partner, testified. Everyone who was in there heard it. He made no sense. He was lying. He was absolutely lying. And there was no way in hell that he saw Eric Garner ever sell a cigarette. He was over 300 feet away. Testifying, he said he did not see 2 people fighting. How the hell did he not see 2 people fighting, but he saw a tiny ass cigarette? Let's be real. How did he see a cigarette? He can't see two grown men fighting. Are you serious? He says he saw that when he arrived, he saw a woman walking away, but then he says he only saw two men walking away. None of that adds up. He originally said it was a misdemeanor offense. After Eric was dead, he filed the paperwork. He processed his paperwork and put a felony on it. He charged Eric Garner with a felony. These are lies. Officers are not allowed to lie in written testimony, and they're definitely sure as hell not allowed to lie on the stand. Therefore, D'Amico needs to be fired. Pantaleo needs to be fired. Kizzy Adonis needs to be fired. All of them need to be fired. Ferlani, Ramos,
Bannon.
Every single one, and especially Christopher Bannon. Because we can't forget about Christopher Bannon, who thought that the murder of Eric Garner, the death of Eric Garner, was no big deal. It is enough already. Enough. Next thing we're going to hear is Stu London blaming the damn pigeon that just flew over our heads for the death of Eric Garner. This is ridiculous, and the media, nobody should be tolerating this. The city of New York, de Blasio, NYPD need to stop this sham and fire this officer. Charge all the rest of them now. I'm going to bring up the mother of Eric Garner, Mrs. Gwen Carr.
Good afternoon, everyone. I thank you all for being here. Again, I had to sit in the courtroom and listen to, it was just disgusting, just sitting there and listening as this trial goes on. And insult to injury, it's being delayed. We were guaranteed these 2 weeks months and months ago. Stu London has more trickery up his sleeve. But you know what? We're still here. We're going to be here because I'm tired of the disruptions. I'm tired of the just trying to make our family out as the perpetrators instead of the victims. Trying to get Pantaleo to come out smelling like a rose. He didn't put him in a chokehold. It was a chokehold. We all saw the chokehold. Chokehold is a chokehold by any means. And it has been established in that court. But what do? They still put on these lawyers that ask the same questions over and over, and the officers who's on trial, they don't even know. They've been prepped, but they don't even know how to answer it. They answer it in 2 different ways every time it's asked of them again. But this has to stop. And we are going to be here, and I thank each and every one of these groups for being here with me. We have tens or hundreds of groups that's really behind us. Some of them you see and some of them you don't. But I thank you all for being here. And please keep coming out, because we're going to be here. Every day there's a trial, rain or shine. The sky could peep. We're going to be here, okay? And I thank you so much. Thank you.
Hold on, we're not taking questions just yet. The next speaker is Michael Gardner. He's Eric Gardner's cousin and the president of 100 Black Men. Stay with him.
Okay.
Afternoon. In addition to being family, I'm our president of the founding chapter of the 100 Black Men, founded by Congressman Charlie Rangel, Mayor Dinkins, and other great black leaders of that day. And let me just say this, that we are law-abiding, tax-paying, church-going citizens who have full respect for the law when it's applied fairly and correctly. In this instance here, it was misapplied. That crime scene where Eric Garner was murdered was a crime scene. We are calling for the firing of every officer that was on site that day and did absolutely nothing. We're calling for their firing. And in the greatest city in the world, we cannot tolerate misconduct by officers who are paid with taxpayers' dollars to serve and to protect. And so we're going to be here every day until justice is served. And I want to thank the National Action Network, the founding chapter of the 100 Black Men, the Abyssinian Baptist Church, who you will hear from their senior pastor in 1 minute. And we're going to be here every single day until justice is served, standing with this great mother here who is being dragged through this for 5 years. Should not happen. That officer should have been fired in 2014. And so once again, we're going to be here every day in supporting this family.
Yes. Thank you. Our next speaker is Council Member Donovan Richards.
Thank you, and to Gwen and to the family, thank you for your courage. Thank you for standing steadfast for justice. So many emotions sitting in that courtroom today. But one thing we should not get twisted today is that Eric Garner was giving a death sentence over a cigarette.
Yes.
And he wasn't selling them.
We have a problem in New York City. And if this case is not a clear indication on the stark differences in the way communities of color are policed opposed to other communities, I don't know what any other case looks like. Test the lying. Test the lying has been going on for far too long. This is just another case, and Eric Garner is a martyr here. Unfortunately, he lost his life, but we are going to breathe a new life into the way our city is policed. I was trying to read these points, but there's no point. in even reading them. Commissioner O'Neill, Mayor de Blasio. We can talk about all the community policing in the world. We can talk about building those bridges between communities and the police department. We can put out all these Twitter feeds of officers out in our communities. But this case right here is going to show us which side you stand on. It's going to be a clear indication on what direction this police department is moving in. As they said, 6 days, justice delayed is justice denied.
Yes, sir.
That's right. That's right.
This could have been my father. We all need to look at it this way. This was a black man murdered on camera. Then the gall of, I forgot which officer spoke, who said that the young man who was taping the video, he thought he had a weapon. No, the weapon he had was something called transparency. It was a camera.
Yes.
Lastly, I'm going to end on this note. You know, for the lieutenant who had the gall to say that Eric Garner's life was no big deal, you ought to be fired.
Right
You
away.
do not belong
Right now.
in
Right
this
now.
police department.
Man has got to go.
This is why we are not shy in screaming that Black Lives Matter.
That's right.
Because they do. Eric Garner's life mattered.
Yeah.
In this circus that we find ourselves in right now, in this courtroom, in this kangaroo court. I have nothing more to say.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
So before I call up the next speaker, so before we call up the next speaker, I just want to acknowledge the other families who are here whose loved ones have been killed by NYPD, and that's Iris Baez, the mother of Anthony Baez, Hortensia Peterson, the aunt of Akai Gurley, Hawa Ba, the mother of Muhammad Ba, Carl Stubbs, father of Clifford Johnson, and Joshua Lopez, the nephew of John Collado. And now I'm going to bring up Derek Perkison from the National Action Network.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
My name is Derek Perkinson with the National Action Network. On behalf of the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. He couldn't be here today, but he wants everyone to know he's with this family. He's been with this family from the beginning, along with many others, and he will continue to stand with this family. And I want to say, from witnessing the atrocity I've seen today, I've never seen a judge get disrespected so badly in my life, being in court by the officers' attorneys. Straight disrespect, disregarding her orders, everything. That cannot happen. I used to think, coming into this thing, that we get a fair shot. I'm starting to see, with Pat Lynch and the lynch mob sitting over there, that we're not going to get a fair shot. And I see that they stacking the deck. The delay tactics are going on. June 5th, the next date. June 5th. Today's the 21st of May. This guy, Stu London, got a break talking about his medical examiner is in Ohio, the only one available in the whole state. And that's why he can't be here to answer for why Eric Garner had to be murdered.
He wasn't even there.
For doing anything. So this is terrible. Another thing I want to talk about, the officers that spoke about a human being playing possum. That is ridiculous. The man was fighting for breath, fighting for his life. And you going to sit up there, Officer DeMonico, and talk about he's playing possum. Shame on you.
Shame.
And last thing I want to say, for Officer Bannon, you think this is not a big deal? Well, we're gonna show you.
Yes.
This is a very big deal.
Yes.
And we're gonna get you out of your
That's
job
right.
because you don't belong there.
1 minute.
And anyone like you who don't take lives, period, black lives, not just black lives, but lives that matter, seriously, you're not gonna be there.
That's right.
You're not gonna be there. And I want to thank everyone for coming out to support the family of Eric Garner. Loda and her team has been doing very, very well. I commend them for being on point. And thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Next speaker is Darian X from Make the Road, New York.
I'm sorry. Peace and good afternoon, folks and family. My name is Darian X. I'm a youth organizer at Make the Road, New York. For the last 5 years, Make the Road and hundreds, if not thousands, of organizations have stood behind Gwen Carr and her family to fight for justice for Eric Garner and to fight for accountability for a system that has, from its inception, criminalized, targeted, and killed people in our communities. 5 years later, instead of criminally charging Pantaleo, instead of outright firing officers who lynched a man in broad daylight, instead of holding their own officers accountable in any real way, the NYPD gave significant raises to all officers involved in the killing of Eric Garner. Pantaleo and all other officers have earned more than 6 figures plus overtime almost every year since Eric was killed, but no consequences. How is it that you can kill a man, have the whole world witness it, and be paid more? How is it that a mayor who ran on a testimony that his son could have been any of the millions of black boys stopped by police, not see that his son could have easily been Eric Garner gasping for breath on a hot Staten Island sidewalk? We stand and continue to stand with Gwen Carr and the family of Eric Garner to continue to say that Eric's life matters, not mattered, but present tense matters. Today, Eric lives matter. Today, our lives matter. Today, our communities matter. We need to fire Pantaleo and all officers involved in the killing of Eric Garner. No justice!
No peace!
I said no justice!
No peace!
Our next speaker is Reverend Calvin Butts from the Abyssinian Baptist Church.
We're here to stand with the family of Eric Garner. We were invited by the 100 black men, and we stand in solidarity with them. The media already knows the facts behind this case and why the outrage. But there's one other thing that we ought to call for, other than the firing of Pantaleo and others who may be involved. And we ought to call into account the mayor of the city of New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio. Those listening who represent, in political terms, the left, should recognize that this man is not one who truly believes in justice, but will barter justice to his own political gain. We went to Mayor de Blasio with a group of distinguished ministers nearly 5 years ago and asked him to fire Pantaleo or to direct his police commissioner to fire Pantaleo. He said absolutely not. He would not take a personnel action, and moreover, he said that whatever we had to do that we thought was correct, we ought to go out and do it. It was totally disrespectful. It was absolutely racist. And no matter what he says, this ought to be a lesson to our entire nation, who is now watching him mount a campaign for the presidency. He cannot be trusted.
That's right.
He is not a true representative of leftist philosophy and thought and ideals. And he is a man who has had the police department turn their back on him.
That's right. That's
This is something that should show not only black people across the nation, especially black people, but all people struggling for justice, that here in the city of New York, we have a most urgent problem with leadership. And that leadership has resulted in no justice being given to Eric Garner. No matter what comes out of this hearing, justice has been denied because it has been delayed. And I think this family deserves to see Pantaleo at least fired, but all of those who have been involved. And if there was some way that we could fire the one who is ultimately responsible, I think it's something that would send a message to the nation that he is not presidential material. Dearly beloved who are gathered here today, we stand in unison to get rid of bad leadership at every level, and that influences the leadership at all other levels. And so therefore, we blame Pantaleo. He is guilty, but moreover, there's one just as guilty as he, and that's the mayor of the city of New York. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. I'm going to call up our final two speakers to come up at the same time, and that's Reverend Daughtry from House of the Lord Church and Kirsten Foy from the Ark of Justice. Come up here on the list. I don't know.
Well, 68 years, there's a cop culture that produces a chokehold death. This is not the first one, and I dare say it will not be the last one. I sat in the courtroom the other day next to the relative of Clifford Glover, 1973, 10 years old, shot in the back. You know what the officer said while he was dying on the sidewalk? Die, you black bastard. Die, you little black bastard. I just left New Jersey. Woman thrown down, Dover, New Jersey. Another case of a young man being beaten. So when we hear of a chokehold death, it grows out of a cop culture. I know we like to say only a few, there's 1%. Listen, if there's only 1%, then it is up to the 99 and 9 to get rid of the 1%, unless they all are guilty. So yes, he died of a chokehold, but the cop culture is no big deal. That's pervasive. That's what the thinking is. There's no big deal. Any human being, man, any human being dying on the sidewalk saying, I can't breathe. You let up, you quit, you give a break. If you're human, you back up and say, let the man breathe.
Yeah.
But there's the cop culture I've seen for 60 long, before some of you were even born.
So sad.
So before some of you were even born, the cop culture, and it has to stop. The cop culture has to stop. Pantaleo need to be jailed. The rest of the cops need to be jailed, need to be fired. And if indeed you're going to believe that 99% of the police are all right, then get rid of the bums, get rid of the killers. And so again, I stand with, I'm just amazed at the courage and the strength of these mothers that we have seen for 60 long years.
Thank you, Reverend Daughtry.
We're here today because it's important that the world understand the sham of justice that's happening behind us. And this is not an anomaly. The sham that we have been watching is the systemic sham that they have sold New Yorkers in the name of accountability. We can police ourselves. This kangaroo court is proof positive why the people of the city of New York need to rise up and demand that the legislature and our do-nothing failure mayor come together on real police accountability and reform.
Yes.
What they have given us in the name of reform is trash.
Yes.
What they are feeding us in the name of accountability is garbage.
Yes.
And what we are saying is we're not accepting it anymore.
That's right.
It's important that we witness this sham that's happening.
That's right.
So that we can go to the people and say, this is what we were trying to tell you.
Yeah.
They cannot police themselves. They cannot self-administer justice. They are not capable of doing it. We have to take that among ourselves as the people and demand the city council pass real legislation
That's right.
empowering the CCRB
That's right.
to independently prosecute outside of the NYPD,
Yes.
outside of
Yes.
this building,
Yes.
to take an officer and independently prosecute them,
Yes.
not just for code violations, not just for policy violations, but for criminal violations
Yes.
like murder and homicide
Yes.
and manslaughter.
Yes.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
What's that?
Come over.
Now,
So before we go into Q&A, just want to show some love to Communities United for Police Reform and partner organizations like Justice Committee, 100 Black Men, showing up for racial justice, Jewish Voice for Peace, Justice League New York, Take on Hate, DSA, National Action Network, Arc of Justice, Legal Aid Society, Make the Road New York, and just many, many others who have been out here and who are out here today. Just thanking you all. Questions? Oh, no, shit.
it is, yes. Is there a worse word than despicable? How do you arrest a dead man? And they went on and processed him after death. They even said that they had upgraded it to a felony. This is before they knew it was a video. They had the report all twisted until we seen the video.
What was it like to hear from Officer D'Amico, given that you're likely to not hear from Pantaleo? He's one of the officers on the scene. Out of his mouth, what was that like?
His testimony is very. It was staged. He was prepped before he came. It was just a bunch of lies. That's all I can say. A bunch of lies.
What in particular struck you as untrue?
About him seeing Eric sell a cigarette while he was observing him. He was over 300 feet away, and he said he seen Eric sell a cigarette. And when you look at the video, you can see Eric is just sitting there. Him and Orta sitting there doing nothing. So when he came up to him, Eric was doing absolutely nothing but sitting on that stoop, which is not against the law. He did not see him commit a crime. It was an unlawful arrest.
Do you want to hear from Officer Pantaleo? Will you be disappointed or relieved?
He needs to testify.
No, I don't want to hear from him. If I'm going to hear what I'm hearing in the courts now,
It's gonna be lies.
it's going to be more lies.
But you want him fired.
I just want him fired. I want him and all those other lying officers fired.
Ms. Shaw, has the CCRB yet indicated to you if they will tell you what the judge's decision is, given the issues with 58?
No, we don't know that.
Have you asked them? What have they specifically said?
Well, we still don't know. We're still in discussion about that. We don't know what's going to happen with that.
Have you heard anything further from DOJ?
Nothing. They have come to a standstill. We have heard nothing from the DOJ.
How long has it been since you've heard?
Approximately 2 years.
Have you made an attempt to contact the DOJ since the trial started?
I'm sorry?
Have you made an attempt to contact
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. We're just interested in firing all the officers right now.
Any?
Ms. Shaw, also, this whole notion of playing possum, that was not something that's come up previously. Do you have any sense from the CCRB who used that term, or was that
We need to ask them.
terminology?
You would need to ask them.
Yeah,
you would
they
need to
came
ask
up with it,
CCRB.
so
What do you make of that suggestion that the officers believed he was faking what he was going through?
That's absurd.
it's
as everything
absurd, it's ridiculous, and it's just outrageous. Yeah, we
Else.
can't
Any last question? Oh, sorry.
No, I just said we can't respond to every lie they tell.
There was a moment in the court where there was a gasp because Mr. D'Amico used to say that
There was a chokehold, right? Oh yeah, he tried to get us. Yeah, he tried to get us thrown out the court. Says have us removed from the court because we were sighing in the court, and the judge refused. He kept on trying. You seen that? Removed him from the court. Right. So, you know, he's. I ain't gonna say. I'm on camera, right? I'm on candy camera. Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's all.